expect the dollar to collapse.
Not at all?
No, not in the least.
No, not worried. I work for the New York Stock Exchange.
No, the dollar is going to be very strong.
Never gonna collapse.
But it is fundamental for us to understand this, because if we think we can patch a system up that failed, it's not going to work. We have to come to the realization that there is a sea change in what's happening. This is an end of an era, and that we can't reinflate the bubble.
We have a total misunderstanding of what credit is versus capital. Capital can't come from the thin air creation by a Federal Reserve System. Capital has to come from savings. We have to work hard, produce, live within our means, and what is left over is called capital. This whole idea that we can recapitalize markets by merely turning on the printing presses and increasing credit is a total fallacy. So the sooner we wake up to realize that a new system has to be devised, the better. Right now, I think the central bankers of the world realize exactly what I'm talking about, and they're planning.
What we have done is, with a number of major central banks, like the European Central Bank, for example, we swap our currency, dollars, for their currency, euros. They take the dollars, lend it out to the banks in their jurisdiction. That helps bring down interest rates in the global market for dollars. And meanwhile, we're not lending to those banks, we're lending to the central bank. The central bank is responsible for repaying us.
So who got the money?
To financial institutions in Europe and other countries.
Which ones?
I don't know.
$500 billion and you don't know who got the money?
Mom keeps telling me about the economy. What is the economy?
Now pay attention, kid, let me lay it down. I said this is the stuff that makes the world go round. When supply go up, demand go down. So you're not shopping in the lost and found. People buy stuff they want, whoa, who knew? And if we want to buy it cheap, who do we go to? China, even though our stuff is finer. Cause their whole workforce is made up of miners. Workers are skilled and our GDP's filled. Everything's on the rise and consumers are thrilled. So let me reiterate, state the fate of the great states. Don't show up late to pick up your grapes, so you can have a Java, or possibly a guava. Recession will burn you like Syrian lava.
The latest report from the labor front shows another 651,000 jobs disappeared in the month of February. The nation's unemployment rate now stands at 8.1%, the highest since 1983. In the past 3 months alone, the economy has shed more jobs than there are people in the city of Philadelphia, almost 2 million. Overall, the number of Americans who want to be working or used to be working tops 12 million.
Hey Bernie, it's Michael Moore, and I'd like for you to just explain to people the basic things that are, what's wrong with American capitalism these days.
Michael, thanks very much for that very important and in fact profound question. To do that question justice would take a lot more time than what we have today, but let me just say a few things. Capitalism does a lot of things that are well, that they do it well. It creates wealth, it sparks the entrepreneurial spirit, and that's great. But on the other hand, what we have had, especially since the Reagan administration, is an unfettered, cowboy-type capitalism, which has ended up with the shrinking and decline of the middle class, a very significant increase in poverty, and the reality that the people on top, the top 1% or 2%, are making out like bandits. Top 1% earns more income than the bottom 50%. That is, to my mind, immoral. And from an economic perspective, it is not good. You have CEOs of large corporations making 400 times more than their workers. I'd like somebody to explain to me how that makes any sense.
We actually looked at one of the arrangements, and one of the arrangements is $9 billion for New Zealand. That works out to $3,000 for every single person who lives in New Zealand. Seriously, wouldn't it have been better to extend that kind of credit to Americans rather than New Zealanders?
It's not costing Americans anything. We're getting interest back and it comes back. It's not at the cost of any American credit. We are extending credit to Americans.
Well, wouldn't it necessarily affect the credit markets if you extend $500 billion in credit to anybody?
We are lending to all U.S. Financial institutions in exactly the same way.
Well, look at the next page. The very next page has the U.S. dollar nominal exchange rate, which shows a 20% increase in the U.S. dollar nominal exchange rate at exactly the same time that you were handing out $500 billion to foreigners. You think that's a coincidence?
Yes.
All right, well...
Hey there, Chief, you better take some notes. We're moving to stocks, full of cutthroats. Here's a 4-in-1 on stock market theory. Bonds, mutual funds, they'll make you weary. Been working hard, look, you got some dough. But where to put it? You don't know. So you get a stockbroker, he's a nice enough guy. He might help you out, or tell you a lie. Times are good, your stock's rising high. Up the next morning, what? GM's gonna die? So you start to cry, you start to shout. Never fear, Obama's here with a massive bailout.
Because of people that just wanted to make easy money, we're stuck.
Families wanted a piece of the American dream. They wanted to buy a house, and as it turned out, they were really led down the path of financial entrapment. The community really believed that when the bailout came about, that the lenders would in fact work with community to help them in the foreclosure, and that's not been done at all.
Banks have seen it fit to use the money to buy other banks, simply to put into their savings, or to grant these bonuses they've given to their officials.
Let me tell you, when we gave them money, when we gave the banks money, they still weren't loaning any money.
We definitely felt alone. We were like, oh my God, we are the only people dealing with this problem.
This is not going as planned.
No, it is not.
We were told it would be a very limited number of opening statements, and it seems to be getting out of control.
Here's what we forgot. Everybody's taking this live. And you know what that means? Why would they miss an opportunity for free airtime?
All right,
Guess
so
what? We're taking a break.
We're going to take a commercial break, get them out of the way so that when something really substantive is happening, we don't have to interrupt then. We'll be right back.